Also, more explicit than this and much more powerful. In multiple narrations, we know that Aisha radiallahu anha, after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, she of course remained in her house completely. She never exited the house because of the verses of hijab that were extra upon the Prophet ﷺ. However, she wanted to go for Hajj, so she asked permission from Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anh. And so that year, all of the wives, except for one, listen to my lectures, otherwise the Prophet went over all of this, all of the wives, they went for Hajj in a special caravan, in a special entourage, with special guards that are going to take them for Hajj. And on the way back, it is narrated in multiple texts, without a question, this is authentic, she went to the grave of her brother, Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr. He was buried outside of Mecca. And so she went there and she walked to the grave and she made dua for her brother. And I'll quote you one of these narrations that Abdullah ibn Abi Mulaika says that Aisha came back one day from the graveyard and I said, "O al-Mu'mineen, where did you go?" She said, "I came back from the qabr of my brother Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr." Abdurrahman is the brother who took her for Umrah after Hajj. If you remember Masjid Aisha, Tan'im, right? Her brother Abdurrahman was the one who took her and then took her back. That was Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr. And he passed away in the Khilafah of, I think, Umar radiallahu anh. And so, Ibn Abi Mulaika says, didn't the Prophet ﷺ forbid women from visiting qabr? This is a very explicit hadith. Didn't the Prophet ﷺ say you're not supposed to go? And Aisha says, yes, we used to be forbidden and then he allowed us to visit. Okay, and this hadith is in Bayhaqi and Hakim. Yes, it used to be forbidden, then he allowed us. And in another version, when she visited the grave, she made dua. She stood at the grave, she made dua for her brother, and then she said, if I had been here to witness your burial, I wouldn't have come to your grave. Meaning, the point is, I don't want to be out of my house. I would go to the Kaaba and come back. But I wasn't witnessing, I wasn't there when you were lowered. I wasn't there to pray janazah over you. I was in Medina. So if I had witnessed your janazah, I wouldn't have done this detour. And I would have gone straight home. Okay? So the point is that, she went there. Now, other scholars respond and they say, the fact that Aisha radiallahu anha went, that's her opinion. And the hadith of the Prophet are there. To which we respond, technically that's a valid point. But the opinion of Aisha is no joke, especially in feminine matters. And she knows feminine fiqh better than other later interpreters. Others say that she didn't actually visit the grave of her qabr of her brother, but it happened to be next to the road. And the response is, this is an assumption that has no basis, number one. Number two, there is no qabr that is literally on the road that you're going there. There is a small graveyard wherever there was. And the point is, she herself explicitly says, if I had witnessed your janazah, I wouldn't have come here. Which means she's going out of her way. Why? Because those who say that it is not allowed, they say, we must interpret that Aisha didn't go visit the grave was on her path. You see the difference, right? And they say, if you're walking and there's a grave there, you're not visiting. And this is a stretch, can you imagine the qabr is right next to when she's walking between Makkah and Medina? She's going to the small little village that he passed away, there's a qabr there, and the wording is clear, that I have come here because I wasn't able to witness your janazah. So this doesn't hold much weight. And then they say, those that say that it is not allowed, they say that the very fact that she says, had I witnessed your janazah, I wouldn't have come, shows she knew that the default is that women should not come to the graves. You understand where they're coming from? Right? Do you understand this point? The very fact that she's saying, had I witnessed your janazah, I wouldn't have come. It means she knows women should not come to the graveyards. To respond to this, two things. Number one, if it was haram, even if she didn't witness the janazah, would she be able to come? If it were sinful, would she publicize that I'm with? So this actually proves that it is not haram at all, because she's announcing it. And number two, you are assuming she's not going to the grave because of the prohibition of women, but there's another more explicit assumption, that she doesn't want to go to the grave because she's supposed to be in hijab, which is explicit in the Quran, right? That Allah explicit in the Quran that remain in your hijab, remain in your houses and don't go out. So she only exited for Hajj, and it could easily be interpreted that if I had witnessed your janazah, I would have rushed straight back and I would not have done the detour because I want to get back to my house. Not because of the prohibition, but because she wants to be in her house, which is the wives of the Prophet.